Greetings, everyone. My name is Jed Shlackman. I'm a holistic counselor as well as a hypnotherapist and energy healer. For this video, I'll be speaking about the subject of women's health. And as a disclaimer at the beginning, this is for educational purposes. So the video is not intended to provide medical advice. It's not meant to diagnose or treat any particular health concerns, either mental or physical health concerns that you may have. Now, in terms of women's health, I will be covering some subjects that relate to both mental and physical health. And of course, mental and physical health are not separate from one another. They're really interconnected. And for those that are dealing with health concerns, I encourage you to look at them from a holistic perspective, where body, mind, and spirit are all interrelated, and what's going on within us internally is also a reflection of things occurring externally with our relationship or response to our social environment and our physical environment. So these phenomena are somewhat multifaceted, multidimensional. Now, living as a woman in our modern civilization presents a variety of challenges. Some of them are biological, some of them are psychosocial. So we'll explore some of that as I give some insight and input into these common health concerns. Now, women have distinct biology and psychology. There's differences between male and female and between men and women. Certainly as individuals, there are some men who tend to be stronger in some feminine characteristics, some women who tend to be stronger in some masculine characteristics. But on average, or on the whole, women tend to be more developed in the feminine areas, men more developed in the masculine areas. And certainly biologically, the male and female reproductive systems have differences which play a key role in our health. With women, there is the monthly menstrual cycle, the moon cycle as some people refer to it, since it has a time length that pretty much matches the monthly cycle of the moon phases. And of course the moon has this kind of electromagnetic energetic impact upon those of us living on Earth, especially women. Women are particularly attuned to the moon energies, so that's something that could impact your physical rhythms as well as your psychological states. Now, women going through life in our current culture are often greatly influenced by the medical system and by recommendations to use a variety of pharmaceutical medications to address physical and psychological symptoms. So let's suppose that you're growing up and you're a teenager and you're dealing with mood swings. A doctor might recommend some type of antidepressant or mood stabilizing medication. Those can have significant impacts or influences, both short-term and long-term, on your physical and mental health. Another area of women's health that's significant is managing reproduction, so planning to have a pregnancy or prevent a pregnancy, and different medical or pharmaceutical interventions may be used for those purposes, things to affect women's hormones, and that could have various effects or side effects or adverse effects, trying to in some way disrupt what nature is doing can have repercussions that people often are not aware of or not informed of. So it's helpful to consider that anything we're doing biologically that's in some way interfering with or disrupting our natural self-regulation can pose some risks. So women that are using contraceptive devices and medications, be aware that there's potential adverse effects of using those. It can affect your hormones, it can affect your gut and your microbiome. It can have both physiological and psychological impacts. As women, there's also some societal pressure or suggestions to put a lot of attention into your physical appearance. So part of the feminine role is making oneself attractive, especially to the opposite gender, and using makeup and fragrances and all these different products that are designed to enhance your appeal can have some unintended consequences. If you're putting different things on your skin, on your face, etc., you may be absorbing chemicals that could affect your endocrine system, things that could have unwanted effects. There's also the topic of diet and food, and women are often under pressure there to try to maintain a certain weight, a certain appearance of slimness, and sometimes in order to do that, women will restrict their food intake and cause themselves to have some type of deficiencies in their nutrition. So the body image and nutrition are issues that need to be navigated. And then there's the issue of social relationships and intimate relationships. And women often encounter challenges in those areas. Of course, men do as well. But for women, their social connections are particularly important. Women are more emotional and relationship driven overall than men are. Men are more focused often on professional achievement, on sports, on things more of an individual accomplishment type of nature. And for women, it's more about social status and being able to have friendships, to attract a significant other, etc. And women are often in some way molested or assaulted sexually in our society. So there's often issues related to how they feel about themselves as a sexual being, some forms of insecurity there, whether they feel rejected or betrayed by men or molested by men. There's a variety of emotional patterns that can arise, and that can affect a woman's health both psychologically and physiologically, since the psychological aspect of sexuality, when that's disturbed or distorted, it can often lead to reproductive system physical symptoms. So we need to recognize that connection, and if there are reproductive system health concerns, it's very valuable to consider the psychological aspect to heal any trauma or any insecurities that may have arisen related to sexual experiences at any age in a woman's life, whether it was something that happened as a child, an adolescent, or an adult. So I encourage women to be conscious of how they feel about themselves in terms of their sexuality, their intimate relationships, how they feel about their physical body, how they feel about men in general or women in general. These are really prevalent themes that are affecting women's health. So if you're a woman or if you're a healthcare practitioner assisting women, these are things that are really vital to explore. So we can look at things on multiple levels. There's the physical level, where we're concerned about exercise and nutrition and diet and lifestyle, getting enough sleep. These are things that are pretty concrete to look at, so you can be conscious and aware of those topics or phenomena. Then going into the psychological realm, some things are easier to recognize than others. There's a lot that goes on subconsciously, things that have been forgotten or suppressed or repressed. So things in our psyche that are impacting us, but we're not necessarily conscious or aware of them. So that's where some more self-reflection or introspection may be needed. That's where we can meditate and tune into our body, into our emotions and subconscious feelings. You might have a journal that you keep. You might do something creative like poetry or art or music, something that's expressing what you're feeling. So these are all ways to tap into that aspect of oneself. Since emotions are very vital in everyone's life, and especially in women's lives, since the female or feminine is tied more to emotions than the male or masculine, women tend to be more immersed and focused in that emotional dimension of their being, and it has a profound effect upon one's health. If you look at illnesses and diseases that tend to be more common in women versus men, you'll see they have a strong emotional component. Some of the autoimmune diseases, for example, you'll find that emotional stresses, unresolved angers, traumas, and so on are fueling some of those particular illness patterns. This is something that makes a big difference in terms of healing, being able to work on the emotional level to release trauma, to release emotional energies that have been kind of stuck or trapped and that have been in some sense trying to express themselves or trying to get the person's attention through physical symptoms. Our physical body is often reflecting what's going on in our subconscious mind, what's happening in our emotional layer of our being. So if you're not consciously confronting things and expressing things, then the subconscious mind will use the body to bring up symptoms that are in some way reflective or symbolic of what's occurring on that emotional level. This is very important for women's health issues. So if you're dealing with any type of health condition, you'd benefit from being aware of those subconscious emotional patterns that may need to be addressed. For many people that's challenging. It may be easier to focus on something that seems more concrete and of a physical nature, such as doing a particular exercise routine each day, or changing some aspect of your diet, avoiding processed foods. Also, being mindful of your time on social media or electronic devices. There's different practical things you can do on the physical level while looking into your heart, looking at your emotions. That sometimes takes more effort or more courage, since you're actually looking at a deeper part of yourself, kind of the core of your own identity, how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself and your life. These are some really deep existential concerns, and it's kind of natural for people to avoid those when there's some unpleasant or some painful content there. However, the path to healing often involves going through the pain or distress to uncover the lessons that are there, the wisdom that your soul may wish for you to gain through those challenging experiences. So I encourage you to not shy away from that, but to actually embrace it, not to resist pain or suffering, but to journey through it, to open up to it, to see what it's there to show you, what it's there to help you shift in your sense of self or your belief systems. What is it that you're ready to release or let go of, and what are the deeper truths or wisdom that your soul would like for you to embrace that will actually bring you greater joy or more inner peace, more self-expression, more activation in a sense of the potential that you have to manifest in your life. What are you here to create? What have you come to nurture, to share, to express about your own unique self? So we can take care of all these different layers of our being. We can tune into our body, to natural rhythms, giving our body what it needs to support its self-maintenance, its homeostasis, especially for women to be attuned to their cycles emotionally and energetically. There are some times where you may need to eat in one way, other times where your body may want you to eat in a different way because your needs have changed, your energies have shifted, your level of physical activity may need to shift depending on those cycles also. Sometimes you would be more active, other times you kind of retreat and rest more. Sometimes you might feel comfortable being more social, being more outgoing and extroverted. Other times you might need to go within, to take time for yourself, to reduce your social interaction, and just be noticing that, being attuned to yourself and not just conforming to the world around you. For women and for men also, but it's particularly noticeable for women. There's a lot of social pressure, and women are expected to meet many different demands. There may be demands of a job, of family and relatives, of social peer groups, and you might not really have the time or energy to deal with all of that at once. You might need to take some more time for your own self-nurturing, for your own refreshing or reclaiming your energy. There's also the spiritual dimension, looking into your intuition. Women naturally tend to have strong intuition, that extra sense, you could call it, that awareness beyond just the physical five senses, where you can kind of feel or get a gut instinct about things, where you might even see visions or have dreams about things. You might hear messages coming to you. So being open to your intuition is a natural feminine strength, and it's something that you can use to your benefit or advantage. Much of modern civilization tends to push aside the intuitive aspect of ourself. It focuses more on the intellectual side, on education, where you're having to memorize, to use logical thinking, where you have to fit into sort of the male-oriented information processing models in academia or business, etc. Whereas traditional feminine roles, like being a nurse, being a healer, being a caretaker of young children, for those types of roles, the feminine intuitive side is very valuable or very helpful. So even if you're in a job in modern society that's not feminine oriented, it's perhaps more masculine oriented, you might be a business person or executive, you might be a financial consultant, you might be in politics, you might be a lawyer. Even women in those roles can benefit from tapping into their intuition. So be able to balance both sides of yourself, of your psyche. We can all use both the feminine and masculine side, and even if you're trying to conform to the demands of a male-oriented culture, you can still remember to use your intuitive side to tap into that part of your being, which is really very natural. So women nowadays often want to feel that they're equal in some way to men in terms of positions in society, but don't use that as a reason to suppress your femininity. It's actually not healthy to suppress femininity just to try to feel equal in status to men. It's okay to acknowledge and appreciate that you have this strong feminine nature, that part of you perhaps is inclined toward the feminine types of roles, toward being a nurturer, toward being intuitive. So don't deny that aspect of yourself if it's authentic to who you are. a message I'd like to share to everyone, whatever gender or combination of gender you might consider yourself. Be authentic to yourself, to your core, to your deepest desires and values, to what you are here uniquely to express as an extension of your soul. I hope that this brief discussion of women's health, of the multifaceted nature of it, the multiple dimensions that impact women's health, provides some value and insight for those that are interested in holistic health and wellness. I invite you to visit my website, phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com. For now, I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.